All right, guys. Today's video is the introduction to a lathe. Hopefully you guys can see all this okay and the sound's okay, but we're just gonna learn, this video is to learn the different components of the lathe. Now I'm gonna cover 10 in this video. There's a lot more going on in here than 10 components, but it's a nice introduction to get us started to make some simple parts. All right, the first part of the lathe is up here. It's called the spindle. It's what actually rotates, not the thing with the jaws in it. That's called our chuck. It's actually behind that. All right, this is what is actually going to rotate your part in your lathe, the spindle. Most tools have a spindle. All right, drill press has a spindle. The mill has a spindle. All right, so it's a very similar thing going on there. We can actually adjust the speed of the spindle with these knobs over here. We'll get into that more later, but this is our spindle. That's what actually rotates. All right. The second part I want to talk about is this right here. This is called our tailstock. All right. Technically, this whole unit up here is our headstock, and then we have our tailstock. All right. Now, the tailstock, the center of your tailstock, should be perfectly aligned with the center of your spindle. All right. That way, we can actually, if we have to drill a hole through a cylindrical rod, we can actually put a drill bit in there. All right, we put a drill bit in our tailstock, chuck up a piece of metal inside of our spindle here, and we can actually drill directly through the center. The other thing the tailstock is used for is to support longer pieces. If I have a piece, just think, the further a piece sticks out of the spindle, the more it's going to wobble at its end. All right, so if we have something, let's say 7 inches, 12 inches, this is about 20 inches right here, I need to support it on both ends, and then I can work my tool in the middle here and actually make kind of contours. I could put this piece in here, which actually has called a live center. It actually rotates here. I'll push this against my piece. Now I'm supporting it on 2 ends. It's going to rotate a lot more true, all right, and not actually have any wobble for it. So I can have good, accurate parts in the middle there, all right? So spindle, tailstock, all right? The next thing is our tool post. Now, this is what's going to hold all of our cutting tools. There's seemingly endless amount of cutting tools for a lathe. All right, our tool post is going to hold those in place. You can rotate your tool post to get different angles. This one right here is kind of cool. You can put 4 different tools in it if you see fit. If you have different operations going down the line, you get a different tool for each one. Our other lathes have a tool post similar, but then they come with a tool post, a tool holder, individual tool holder, and we have multiple of these, and you could load those up. So it kind of depends on what lathe you're working on what the tool post looks like, but they all function the same way. All right, they're to hold our tool in place, nice and rigid, at a given height or angle, and then we can go ahead and make our cuts based on whatever the readout says or whatever we're trying to make. All right, so we got spindle, we got tailstock, we got tool post. All right, the next thing, these rods down here, all right, these top 2 right here. This top one that's threaded is called our lead screw. We'll engage our lead screw when we're looking to make threads, like say we're making a bolt of some sort, all right? We'll use our lead screw. Our lead screw works with these dials down here to get it to move at a certain rate of speed so we can cut the threads that we want to cut. This one down here is our feed rod. All right, so we have our lead screw up here. We'll use that for making threads. Don't turn on the lathe like that. All right, we have our feed rod down here. One thing about, as we're making cuts on a lathe, you want to have consistent movement going across your part. If you're moving like speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down, you're going to see that, that surface finish on the metal that you're actually trying to lathe down. All right, and so by having a nice consistent speed at a given feed rate, we'll have a nice surface finish. All right, you guys probably can't see these 2 very well. See if I bring it up a little closer. All right, you can see how this is a rough finish on the edge. This is a nice smooth finish. All right, our feed rod allows us to get this nice smooth finish because it's going to move at a consistent speed. All right, so we'll do a lot of movements with our hand wheel, of course. But when we want a really, really tight finish, a really, really nice finish, we'll use your feed rod for that. And I'll show you guys in a later video how to set that up. All right, this guy right here, this thing that's going all the way across our lathe, that's known as our apron. Our apron has all of our controls and has all of our knobs on it. All right, so our apron is kind of the thing that holds all of our tooling and kind of controls everything for us. The apron rides on these guideways. All right, these guideways that go across our lathe, and everything, the tailstock is sliding on, my apron is sliding on. Those are critical to any lathe operation. We can repair, if things get broken on this lathe, we can repair all that stuff, all right, for the most part. Guideways, if they get marred or messed up, it's a big, big trouble. In fact, if I'm ever changing out my chuck or doing any work up here, I'll literally take a piece of wood and I'll lay it across my guideways, just in case I drop anything, I don't actually mar my guideways. They're critical. You want to make sure they stay as clean as possible, brushing chips off of them as much as you can, and we'll keep them nice and oiled up so we can move our apron and our tailstock across those guideways. The last three things are these hand wheels. All right. This one right here is our feed hand wheel. It works just like our feed rod. All right, but it's a manual movement. We'll use a lot of this to get into place and then engage our feed rod, or we will turn with this a little bit just so you guys can see how it feels when you have a depth of cut and moving at a faster or slower speed. This middle wheel right here is our cross slide. All right, our cross slide is going to move in this direction across our part. All right, so where our feed wheel moves what they call longitudinally along our lathe, the length of our lathe, the cross wheel moves across our lathe. All right. And then the last one is this compound hand wheel. This whole unit up here is called our compound. I can actually get a little wrench in here and I can pivot this so it moves at different angles. If I need a taper on a part, I will use this. But our compound, where this only moves in one direction, this only moves in the perpendicular to that direction, our compound we can set at different angles and move across our part at a desired angle if we're trying to make something like that. So just a quick recap. Spindle, tailstock. All right, tool post up here. We have our lead screw, which is our threaded rod across here. We have our feed rod just below it. All right, this third one's just a guide rod. Our feed rod right here. Our apron goes across our lathe. Our guideways is it's the track that everything slides on. All right, super critical. We have our feed hand wheel. We have our cross feed hand wheel. And we have our compound hand wheel. Those are the 10 parts we're identifying right now. All right, hope that made sense to you guys. We'll cover it more in class. Take care.